Hey, welcome back to It's All Good Garage. So a little something different today. I got to put railings on this deck for some fam, and I had to make a longer railing. The railings we went with are these Prowood ones from Home Depot. They're only 6 foot. So I made one over 9 feet. Well, this is about 9 feet, just about 9 feet. The spread between each one here. So a few 2x4s. You can buy the balusters from Home Depot. So I got them. Thought I'd go through how I made it. Hopefully you enjoy this video. If you do, like and subscribe. All right, here we go. So what I did is I took the original piece. I had a piece of the railing left over, and I lined it up with the holes. First I cut my lengths to what I needed, and then I split the difference in the center. I started with the hole in the center and worked my way down. So this is center. Actually, let's look at this one. This one's center, right? So because of the length of these, I started with a hole in the center. This way, when I got down to the end here, I'm about 2-3 inches away from the end. Now, had I started the hole, say, here and here, you know, that split there, right? Then I would have been probably too close or even off the end or right about here, and that would be kind of far away. I'm trying to make it as many balusters as possible and as tight as I can. But it showed up pretty good. You get an idea. I have this set at 3/4 of an inch. This is 1.5 inches, this whole thing. So it gives me this. Make my marks on each one of these lines. And when I go to drill, I can find center. None of these are perfect. We can make it happen though. It's all good. As you can see, I took my drill press, rolled it over next to the workbench. I shimmed it up so that it was level. I set my stop on my drill press, and I put my Forstner bit in. So what I did was, I took my calipers and I gauged down how far this hole was. And that's where I set the depth on the stop, so that this comes down and it hits the stop here, and each one of these will be the perfect depth. All right, here we go. Nice. All right, perfect. Good enough. Last one was tough. Trying to get it lined up. Alright. Alright, I'm going to stop this right now. I'm going to finish these guys up, the rest of these on my own. And I'll see you back here for the next step. Alright, those are done. That took a while. They're all done. Now I'm gonna have to clean them all up. But before I do that, I want to put this groove on the side on it. See that groove right there? All I'm gonna do is put a couple of kerfs in it from the table saw. I think we're good there. It's good enough. Now we just gotta get our depth. Just bringing it up until I feel the piece move. Should be inside that groove right there. Yeah, it's pretty much a guesstimate. Kerf doesn't have to be huge, doesn't have to be deep, just enough. There it is, it's caught in the kerf. All right, we'll kerf all 4 pieces and then we'll see what we get. We're gonna do a double. I'm gonna do a double, so I'm gonna run it through once and then reset it. All right, got all those done. Now what I want to do is I want to make this just a little wider. And I'll do that by moving the fence out the width of the saw blade, just to give it a little more depth. There it is. It's probably more defined on my piece than it is on this one, but it's not meant to be exact. It's just meant to look like. I mean, from far away, you'll never notice. You won't know they're not the same. Plus, I'm going to sand it a little bit, give it a little more round over in there, you know. But I think that's going to work. So I'm going to finish the rest of these up, and I'll bring you back when I get on to the next step. All right. Now I'm going to do some sanding, but I'm putting a mask on my earphones. I breathed enough of this stuff in my life. All right, here we go. Little 60 grit, and now I'll probably go to 100. All right, you get the idea. I'm gonna finish these up and I'll be back. I made a mess here. Sand is done. Nice. All done. Now it's time to take those 2x4s and turn them into railing tops like this, or as close to this as I possibly can get. So I measured this. I believe it was 3 1/4. Can't even see that. Yeah, it's under. So it's 3 1/8. So I want to cut my lengths to match these. These are already cut to length. And so I want to cut my lengths first. And then I'm going to cut the width. I think I'm going to take slice off of one side and then cut the rest off the other side. I do this because in my head I feel like it relieves the wood. So I cut the railings to length. Now I'm going to run them to the table saw, get my width, and then I'm going to make a rabbet in the bottom of the board so that it'll sit on top of the rail of the railing. You'll see that coming up. I'll clean it out with my wood chisel. Okay, so after sending it through the table saw, it is now the next day, by the way. I had to clean all this out. I used my wood chisels to try to clean it up as best I can. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's got about a 3/16 or more recess. And that'll cap over top of one of these guys like this. Okay, just got to shape it. So this is how we do this. Okay, a lot of this stuff, this is how you remove wood the hard way. This is all done the hard way, but it works. That. There we go. Clean it up real good. So I'm routering the top and the bottom to get the shape that I want. And I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. And we'll see when it's done. All right, I'll be back. Okay, so now I'm going to assemble. Got the mess all cleaned up. That took me forever. Well, it seems like forever. Anyway, this one right here, this one seems a little bent, you know, more so than the rest. So I've decided that this is the one that gets pinned in by the railing. Just a little bent. There it is, tight fit, but it's there. Yeah, we'll get her together and see what she looks like. All right. So I'm pre-drilling right down in the center of these holes. These things are hollow. The balusters are hollow, so screw doesn't stick up, but if it did, the baluster would go around it anyway. Broken. Next victim. All right, well, we'll go in this hole then. All right. Okay. Using 3 inchers. As You can see the hole's right about there. More than enough. And we put a broken drill bit in that one. Double check the back side, make sure we didn't come through, which we did not. I know it's right, but I always check anyway. All right, here's where the fun part starts. All right, let's find a good spot to do this. How about right here by the colors? Nice flat spot. All right. The holes are made tight so that these guys stick in there nice and solid. Hear that? Now let's hit the bottom. Made the holes tight to account for shrinkage, because you know it's going to shrink. I'd rather have everything tight. Let it shrink down the line. And you know, I know this stuff's going to probably move. I'm just hoping for the best. You know, you got to take your chances. I'm using pressure treated, but that's all that Prowood stuff is pressure treated. So I know pressure treated moves and everything else. So this is what you do. It's the fast-paced, high-action world of railing building. All right, how about I finish this up and see you guys when it's done. Moving on to the next step. Wait till you see how much fun that's gonna be. Okay, so got them up on a workbench, put a couple of blocks over here. I have to match all of them holes up and they're all tight. Keep that in mind. This is gonna be fun. Look how tight these are. They don't really come out of there. So it's doable. I did it on 2 of them. So we're gonna do it on this one. See what we get. Please refrain from laughing, okay? Doing the best I can. All right. Gonna give her hell. Start the first one. It's a process. All right, there's 2. Try to line the next 2 up. It's in. Sometimes it's good to have a belly and use it for leverage. It's called getting your body into it. Come on. So close. There it is. All right. Pretty much started. So now I'm going to flip it back down onto the ground and beat downward on it. There's no better stop than concrete. Fun. Trick is not to pull them out when you're doing it. All right, here we go. Let's make sure it's down. Ooh, felt that go down. Okay. Looking for between 24 and a quarter, 24 and an eighth. Boom. Right in here. Oh, that one's high. Let's get that down. Drop the hammer. Go. Flat there. That feels better. Boom. It's good. So I got the good starting point. It's like 24 and an eighth. Usually between 24 and an eighth, 24 and a quarter. I'm happy. Because once I set it up there, set the bracket ends, you can move the top rail up and down once you set the bottom. Set the bottom at the right height and then move the top up and down. You have about 1.5 inches of play on both sides of this baluster. So, all right, well, I am going to go install them. All right, I'll be back. So I'm using these brackets. But what I did is, can't see it on this side, I sent a screw in there on top, bottom, and I'm going to put a couple more on this side, as well as the brackets. Not to mention, I put a foot down here, and that's tied in as well, and tied into this. Try to help keep it moving, keep it from moving. But it's, I mean, it's pretty solid, you know? So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna measure up. It's 2.5 inches to the bottom of the bracket down here. And put them there. And we'll get these railings hung. All right, right back. So I marked it there. I'm gonna screw these guys in here, in the middle of this post. And then I'll measure up 27.5 from this point up to this point at the top. And I'll make a mark there. I usually put these on, set the railing in these, and then add the other ones later. That's how we do it. All right, I'll be back. Okay, there they are. They're in. Made some feet for the centers. I think they turned out really good. Not too bad. You see the brackets, and I ran some screws behind so you can't see them. They're nice and solid, so gotta love it. All right, have a good one.